Good morning, everybody. This is Jewish Talk on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHBC, streaming live on the college station and tunein.com. I'm Rabbi Pearl, and today we're going to begin by discussing Jews and the circus. As you all know, from where I broadcast, not more than just less than 2 minutes away, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus will be doing their final show today after 146 years of operation. Now, the owners, Feld Entertainment, a family-owned, disclosed that, as you well know, the declining ticket sales, high operating costs have made the circus unsustainable, particularly after they phased out the use of elephants because of the concerns about welfare back in 2016. Now, you may be surprised to learn that the actual currently Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus have been owned by a Jewish family for the past 50 years, longer than even the original owners of the Ringling Brothers or by Barnum and Bailey themselves. It was the Feld family bought the circus in 1967. The father of the current CEO, Kenneth Feld, Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey, have certainly been a family affair, with Kenneth's three daughters, Nicole, Alana, and Juliet, serving as the current executive vice presidents. During the golden age of European circuses, a number of circuses were actually founded and run by Jewish circus families. In Germany, the well-known Lorch family. Then, from late 1800s until 1930, they performed. They had a circus all over the southern Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and then they became the German Jewish family Blumenfeld owned the circus Blumenfeld, closing in 1928. Coming a little bit more currently, during the Holocaust, 4 members of one Jewish circus family survived by being hidden in plain sight. Irene Bento was a trick driver. Her husband, who according to some conflicting accounts about his background, nevertheless worked as a clown. Their 2 young children lived in a traveling circus with them and other circus members, performing throughout Germany with a family circus owned by Alfred Althoff. The scion of a 300-year-old circus family, this individual, Alfred Althoff, was determined to conceal the 4 Jewish members of his circus. Circus people don't ask if you're Christian, Jewish, or heathen, he later explained, when asked how he was able to resist the pervasive, violent anti-Semitism of the war years. This Alfred arranged false papers for the Bentos, and they kept performing under pseudonyms. As the circus traveled through Germany, Alfred would try to ask his contacts for a warning when the local Gestapo were about to come to check on the identity papers of circus employees. He and Bentos arranged a code. Before each Gestapo visit, Alfred would knock on their trailer door and tell them to go fishing. You can do a lot in the circus and keep it a circus, and keep it a secret, he recalls after the war. Guess what? The Bentos survived the war and continued their careers as circus performers. Their children eventually joined them in the ring as well. And this Alfred Althoff was honored by the Israeli government after the war. He passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 85 in 1998. Another interesting, fascinating history about Jews in the circuses. I'll tell you about the circus family that fell into the clutches of Mengele. This was the Ovitz family, a Jewish family living in a small village in Romania in the years before World War II. They had an unusual distinction. They were the largest recorded family affected by dwarfism. Their father, Rabbi Shimon Isaac, and 7 out of 10, a total of 10 children, all had this condition marked by unusually short stature. The family arranged for music and performance lessons for these children, and these Ovitz siblings, these dwarfs, were musically gifted and soon became accomplished performers. The 5 sisters and 2 brothers with dwarfism formed an amazing, successful circus act, which was dubbed the Lilliput Troupe. The normal-size siblings and mother helped out with costumes and other activities. Perla, the younger sister, played a pink guitar. Frida played the cymbalone. Rosika and Franzika played violins, while Elizabeth played on the drums. Their brother Mickey played the cello, and accordion, and the brother Avram wrote the group's scripts. On May 16th of 1944, this family, Ovitz, were deported to a concentration camp. After 3 days' journey, they crammed in a little cattle car with scores of other Jews. They arrived at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Instead of being murdered on arrival like their relatives and friends, the Ovitz family was a curiosity. The SS guards woke Dr. Yamach Shemai Joseph Mengele, who welcomed their siblings, relishing the chance to perform medical experiments on these dwarfs. The Ovitz quickly added a few family members to their group, including a neighbor and a handyman, saving these 50 normal-sized people's lives. But for the dwarfs, months of torment was about to begin. Mengele spared their lives, but at a gruesome cost, performing experiments on the siblings that left them exhausted, ill, and in excruciating pain. Mengele enjoyed spending time with this Ovitz clan, praising Frida and insisting that she wear makeup, which he provided. The sadistic doctor brought toys from children he'd killed for Leah's 18-month-old son, Shimshon. Mengele made the little boy malnutritioned to the point where he never cried or talked, and insisted on being called, Uncle Mengele. In 1945, the Ovitz family were liberated from Auschwitz. They returned to their village. Some of only 50 people, survived. In 1949, the family moved to Israel, where they continued to perform. In recent years, clowns have been moving out from under the big top into hospitals, where they help cheer patients and even help, which helps the patients medically as well. It actually brings healing effects in many hospitals. At NYU Winthrop, we often see clowns walking around in the children's sections. Israel is emerging as a world leader in the use of clowns in medical settings. In other countries, clowns typically visit patients after their medical treatment. Israeli researchers have actually done tremendous, what they call clown therapy, as a standard branch of medicine. Israel has at least 80 clowns operating in 18 hospitals. These Israeli clowns are also paramedics and participate in diagnosing and helping to devise treatment and rehabilitating plans. Much the same way, the art therapists and occupational therapists are part of patients' medical teams. In 2007, Israel's University of Haifa became the first undergraduate degree program in the world in medical clowning. So if you're going today to the clown here along the circus for the last time, enjoy yourself. This was, as I said, the last 50 years, it was a Jewish family, the Feld family, who owned the Ringling Brothers Circus. What I'm going to share with you now is what happened 50 years ago in another part of the world. On June 7th in 1967, 2 days after the Six-Day War began on June 5th, which would be on the Jewish calendar 26th day of the month of Iyar, which is tomorrow on the Jewish calendar. So on this June 7th, which would bring us on the Jewish calendar this Wednesday, Israeli paratroopers burst through the Lion's Gate, liberated the old city from Jordanian control. They first ran to the Temple Mount, unfurled the Israeli flag, and made their way to the Kotel. We have all seen the famous footage of Israeli soldiers both crying and celebrating, overcome by the immensity of the moment and the jubilant at their rendezvous of being at the Kotel. Yearning realized, longing fulfilled. 50 years ago, the heart was restored to the body of the Jewish people with the capture of Jerusalem. You see, it's hard to believe that it was 50 years ago that Jews and Jerusalem were at long last reunited. It took God all of 6 days to create the world. It took modern-day Israel the same brief length of time to liberate the holiest city in the world from the hands of those who never understood or accepted its true sanctity. The 6-Day War was by all accounts a contemporary miracle. Israel's enemies made clear of their intent. It was not land that they wanted as much as the Jewish lives. The Arabs assured the world they would finish the task Hitler, Yamach Shemoy, had started. The Holocaust was the unspeakable genocide of 6 million. The Arab leaders who surrounded the tiny Jewish homeland boasted that at this time, what remained of the Jews after the Nazi concentration camps and crematoria would at last be totally destroyed. It just so happens, my dear friends, that tomorrow, the same date, 26th day of Iyar, which is the date of the beginning of the Six-Day War on the Jewish calendar, is also the day that our family marks the passing and the murder in the crematoriums by the Nazis of my grandparents, who I'm named after, my grandfather, my grandmother, and my father's brothers and sisters were all murdered on this very same day in 1944. Military analysts are still stunned when they study what actually happened 50 years ago. Generals at West Point have been quoting as saying that Israel's victory can simply not be understood from a perspective of strategy in historic warfare. One officer, who understandably chose not to be quoted by name, simply said, "There is no way we can teach the reason behind Israel's success because Israel was clearly aided by Hashem. We are not permitted to teach God at West Point." 50 years have not dimmed, dear friends, the memories of the miracles of that glorious moment in history. In our shul in Mineola, we all spoke about it. That was the theme of the Shabbos. And we had Eddie Halak, who was a paratrooper at that time, tell us of the miracles of Hashem during that time. As a result of the Six-Day War, we recaptured the site on which King Solomon built the first temple, on which, after a brief period of exile, we returned and dedicated the second temple as well. So the message of the 50th year reminds everyone of a major truth. It is not we who owned the land. After 50 years after 1967, we need to especially take note of the biblical significance of the number 50 with regard to the land of Israel. The message of 50th year reminds everyone of one major truth. As the Torah tells us this week, it is not we who own the land is mine, which is what God tells us yesterday as we read the Torah together. When the 12 tribes first came to Israel, the land was divided among them. Everyone shared equally in the economic benefit of land ownership, but no one was permitted to view the possession of the land as permanent. Jews might work the land, harvest its produce, and enjoy its fruits. They could even purchase more land or sell off what they owned if they so desired. But on the 50th year, the Jubilee year, the Yovel, all land returned to its original owners. The Jubilee year was a recurring reminder that God alone, the creator of heaven and earth, was the true title holder of all the land on which we live and all the places that we call home. Every one of us begins his study of the Torah with the verse which teaches, what's the beginning of our study? In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. It's a familiar. And then we have the famous comment of Rashi, the most famous of rabbinic commentators on the Bible. And he asked the question, why does the Torah, as a book of law, begin with this extra legal information? So that if anyone, why talk about creation of the heaven and earth, talk about the laws? And the answer is so that if anyone ever questions our claim to the land of Israel, we will be able to respond. As creator of the master and master of the universe, we can transfer his ownership to whatever he pleases. And it is God who has apportioned his land to his people, the children of Israel. The famous Rabbi Avraham Isaac Kook, the first Ashkenazic chief rabbi of Palestine of that time, made an astounding prediction some years before the establishment of the State of Israel. Reflecting on the biblical number associated with the Jews who left Egypt, Rabbi Kook suggested that when the population of Jews in Palestine would similarly reach the total of 600,000, it would be a wondrous sign and the beginning of a national return. Amazingly enough, it was only in 1948 that Jews, for the first time, equaled in Israel that biblical number.